Good, good, good morning. Happy Tuesday, the 15th of February. I hope everyone's doing really, really well. So today we're going to talk about speed, conditioning for speed again, part two. If you didn't see the first video or watch the first episode, listen to the first episode of this, go back, check it out. It was a couple of weeks ago, real short digest into conditioning for speed. And we started to talk about the ideas of extensive tempo. So now what I'm going to do for you today is open up my whiteboard, nice big space. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, I do apologize. But if you are, then join my Facebook group or watch this on YouTube. The links are in the description and you can see me talk through this tactically as we go through it. So what we've done is we have spoke about, let me make myself a bit bigger as well. There we go. Hello, everyone. So what we spoke about is the relationship previously between maximum velocity, okay, and the relative cost of that conditioning. So essentially, and if we look at this as just to 100% of 100% of a maximum velocity. And we know that in certain zones of that, we're going to be roughly about here. We've got that intersection. So that is our 90, let's change the color. So that's going to be our 90 plus zone. Okay, so then when let's step down a bit, let's do a bit of pink. Okay, that's going to be our 80% zone. So we've got 80. Then let's just go green. Then we've got our 70% zone, and then finish on blue. I always do these wrong, less than 70%. So correct me if that's the wrong way around. So there in itself lies the range and the rate of which we can start categorizing percentage of max velocity to create conditioning programs. Okay, and so this we spoke about in part one. Okay, looking at extensive tempo, and the reason why we want to look at extensive tempo is for technical, okay, technical mastery of sprint movements. Okay, and this is non-exclusive to linear running, and I thought I'd make that really clear for you. That's non-exclusive for linear running. You can use extensive tempo for change of direction. So let's take American football, for example. So you have some routes that you can run. So off of your seam, you can run a deep out, you can run a deep in, you can run slants, you can run a corner, and so let's just take those for example. You can have a quick in and a quick out. So this is your seam. Okay, if we're playing up this way, so let's think about that, and that could be up to maybe 20 yards. So from an extensive tempo point of view, if you've ticked your box and you've got good capacity over, call it 50 yards of linear tempo, then extensive tempo, then your tempo could progress into route work, because we're getting active accelerations and decelerations. And what I would do is I would run a route tree from long to short. Okay, so I was exposing myself through the velocity and working on my decision making of planting and cutting my feet, and then working back down the tree. So that's just an example. If you don't play American football, you've got the curvilinear, you've got the arc runs, you've got the fades bouncing out in rugby union. You've got an unders to straight. Okay, you've got an overs to straight. All right, and you could just do your simple shuttle backs. shuttle back and just work, because we're focusing on the elements of change of direction that we need. So let's try and clear this. I've cleared a lot of them. So so once we've let me actually get rid of all of this, because I want to keep, you can still see I'm figuring out how to use this whiteboard properly. So thank you for the patience, because I want to keep this diagram in the top right corner. So now that we have this sort of taken care of, the area under 70%, let's start looking at this area of 80%. And let's blow that out. So what happens at 80% if we were to take a slope of a gradual acceleration? Okay, so over a period of time, we'll so that's our velocity. We're going to have an inverse of that, so our rate of acceleration will be really high and then decrease, as you can see, like it will swerve and come up through. So that's a really important diagram to understand, because at low velocities you still have high rates of acceleration because we're changing steps, and then this is this intersection point where we get a bit of trouble, and so that's why it's really important to see if we can keep increasing that to then allow this part of the curve to increase. So we gradually pull up both curves, because you can't do one without the other, unfortunately. So when we take that and we look at this 80% rough margin, rough percentage of max velocity, you are going to be looking at quite a high rate of acceleration as well. So it's not too fast, but it's going to have a high rate of acceleration. So what does that tell us? Is that it's going to be a lot more force, a lot more force bias and a real high effort towards it. Okay, so with its high force, it's going to be a lot more contractile as opposed to elastic, depending on the distance as well. And with the effort, it means it's going to have a high RPE. So when we think of those in terms of our conditioning, then before we go into like substrate metabolism or anything like that, it's really important for you guys to categorize that with high force, that it's high contractile, and high effort's high RPE. And if it's high effort and it's high RPE, it's going to be very taxing, all right, from a local muscle point of view. So peripherally. So from a peripheral point of view, so your legs will get tired, your hamstrings will get tired. So what does it make it really good for? Strength and power training. So this 80% from a conditioning point of view, you have to think about it. It can replace your strength work in the gym. And that's brilliant, because what you can do is you could go and pick up, play speed gate golf as a big part of speed gate golf is understanding these mechanisms, and below it is then run your 80% efforts over 20s, or 80% speeds over 30s or over 40s. And you're hitting your times, and what that is doing is categorizing our scheme of work and allowing that strength and that power to be built. And that's, I think, what a lot of coaches find it difficult to understand, is that yes, you don't need pulleys and you don't need sleds, and you need to understand what is happening at different percentages of max velocity in relation to different percentages of rate of acceleration, because that, when you can start understanding that, you can create progressive periodization, working off of all the undulating systems and everything like that. Like, there aren't that many resources online that teach you how to periodize sprinting, or how to progressively condition for sprinting. Charlie Francis popularized extensive to intensive. and that definitely works. And we will touch on intensive tempo in part 3, but in part 2 today, it's understanding how you generate strength and power and how you build strength and power through running. When we're looking at order of specificity of training, you can see, and it's really easy, you know, that where's the gap that lies, where you've got your gym work and then you've got your running, right? So what needs to happen in here? Where does our thought process need to go? Because inside here, it's going to be, if you're sound, you're going to have your ballistics, you're going to have, you know, some of your jumps, you're going to have progressive plyos in there, and you're going to have your barbell movements. But then what, how does that fit in with running? How does that all come to life in running? Well, in a speed-based session, well, I'll show you. So when we've got, you know, we think of our ballistics, our progressive pliers, our barbell movements. So in running, where does our strength training come from? It comes from high acceleration, high rate of acceleration, but submaximal distance work. But, you know, let's work from the ground up. You've got your drills, which are going to be your progressive pliers. So that ticks that box. That also jumps. Let's think categorization of jumps. You've got your push outs. Okay, so that's your leaps. Technically, first 4 or 5 steps of acceleration can be reverse engineered into leaping. Then you've got your ballistics, which are going to be your, or ballistic exercise can be your load and smash. From a low level point of view, can be your shoots. You should have seen my needing wall shoots. But then also it can be into, you know, technical 5 steps, technical 10 steps. It's all becomes high ballistic work because it's overcoming inertia over and over again. So when you're thinking about your gym work and get stuck on your running, well, don't think about what exercises you're using, it's what adaptation you're trying to create. And remember that the barbell is only a vehicle to allow a few other things to take place, and only a few other things to take place. Your plyos, your low level from your snap downs. If you've got my plyometric progression manual for coaches, then you'll know this. And there's a progressive scheme that allows us to intensify, and drills can become extensive plyometrics, as submaximal plyometric means. And as I go through jumps, leaping, ballistics, load and smash. So when we're, you know, thinking about conditioning, it's not just how we're conditioning the lungs, it's how we're conditioning the working tissues. And we know really well inside the gym how to condition working tissues. We're just not really good at doing it on the track. And if you can understand how you can do that, and on the field, how you can do that and manipulate this trade-off, like in my head, I'm always thinking of this seesaw, okay, of skill and physical, okay, a physical transfer. I'm always thinking of this, always thinking that seesaw effect. Where's it sitting? How am I putting it? Where am I driving it? And on that journey, where does my athlete need? So that is part 2 of conditioning for speed. And I hope you enjoyed it. Drop me some comments, send me some messages. Let me know what you think. Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think this makes sense? Have you never heard anything like this before? Is this like, wow, you're blowing my fucking mind, Sam? And let me know, please, because there's loads more of where this came from, and I just want to help. And so if you're new here, my name is Sam Portland. I'm an elite strength and conditioning coach and mentor. I've been coaching for over 10 years at the top level, and now my mission is to help young and old and aspiring coaches develop their skill sets on applied training, develop and work with them to manage their mental health, and also help them set up businesses. So look forward to hearing you. See you next time.